This is another episode of Talks with Tyler ISD, a podcast about the passionate people who have a heart for students. This podcast is brought to you by Texas Bank and Trust. Welcome back to this episode of Talks with Tyler ISD. I'm your host, Jennifer Hines, and we are getting ready to kick off another school year. And joining us right now is Tyler ISD Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Marty Crawford. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to kicking off another school year here. It'll be my second decade begins in Tyler ISD tomorrow, or whenever this airs. We're probably already in school. So we're excited about that and going to have a great year.
Well, tell us a little bit about you. We've gone through the summer, but give us an update on the family.
Yeah, Jackson graduated from UT Tyler, obviously, and he's out looking for something. Of course, he was a Tyler ISD graduated from Robert E. Lee back in 2020. He was a COVID year grad, where we had to wait 3 months for graduation, it seemed like. Ashton, working at Christus now. Of course, her and her husband, Cole, who's a teacher in Lighthouse, because of nepotism laws, can't work.
Right, you can't hire your son-in-law.
I know it. He's a rock star. I wish we could, but their son Harlan is in daycare, 3K.
Yeah,
and he's a hoot. He loves going to school, so he's a lifelong learner, like his mama, or is going to be. And his crawdaddy.
Yeah,
it's
your grandpa name is Crawdaddy. I love that.
That's right. So that's fun. He loves to wrestle with Crawdaddy, and I'm kind of the roughhouse guy. So it's been great. And of course, AJ's a rising freshman at Legacy High School. Starts a volleyball season here. It's imminent. Yeah, and she's looking forward to it. Of course, whenever you're the youngest in a family of where your career centers around education, she's already seen her sister and her brother both come through high school, and she's ready to wear the red black or the Red Raiders, and this is what she's been built for, she feels like. So it's going to be exciting. She's excited about high school.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that have changed over the summer, because while the teachers are off and some of the other staff are off, we're busy working behind the scenes getting ready for the new school year. We've got 2 new principals coming on board. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, Nathan Harbert Orr and Miss Robinson over there at Jones, or Nicole Robinson at Jones. We're really excited about both of them. You know, we only turned over 2 campuses. I can remember the chaos that we had where we used to turn over about a third of our campuses whenever we were, struggling a little bit with accountability. Both of those principals found work in other school systems. They both actually moved. And so having those internal candidates that have been successful assistant principals, learn from some really good principals, being able to place them at both of those campuses, we look for great things at both Orr and Jones Elementary. Well,
and it's great because we do have our own internal Tyler ISD grow your own programs, and it's great to see that we have that pipeline available so that when somebody maybe does move on or moves up in their career, that we can just slide somebody in there that's already prepared.
Absolutely. We call it Tyler Ready Principal Program, and we have a lot of nuances here in Tyler ISD. We're a mid-urban school system with pockets of rural, suburban, and urban characteristics, and learning how to do things in Tyler, making sure that we understand that successful student outcomes is our mission. We feel a bit more comfortable when we're able to grow from in the inside and place from there, and they've done that. Plus, we also have the Team 1 program. Team 1 is something where we actually allocate some of our budget to pay for up-and-coming aspiring administrators to go get their master's degree with principal certification. We've been doing it with Texas A&M Commerce. We're looking forward to also doing that with UT Tyler here in the near future.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I know one of our district teachers of the year, Lane Fumo, she also got another prestigious recognition, one of 6 in Texas. Tell us about that, because I know that you were there.
Yeah, National Math Science Teacher of the Year. I think it's NMST. I believe that's the acronym. She was designated from one of the 6 in Texas, and so of course she'll be competing nationally as well. Lane's a phenomenal teacher, math teacher over there at Caldwell Arts Academy, married to Eduardo. The Fumos are 2 rock star teachers. Both of them qualified for the teacher incentive allotment, our top teacher program, Tyler Optimal Performance Program. So we'll never be able to pluck them out of the classroom. They're performing so well, and they're getting paid for it. So we're excited about Mrs. Fumo being honored by the State Board of Education look forward to see what she can do nationally.
That's wonderful. Well, tell us a little bit about this dedication of the Fieldhouse at Legacy. That was such a heartwarming night to be there and to see all of that happen. Talk to us about Coach Mike Owens.
Yeah, it was a master's class of what coaches used to be. I'll tell you, if he and Danny Long were the head football coach and the athletic director here respectively, and I was superintendent, we'd have terrible schools because I'd have spent all my time.
You would have been all about athletics.
With them. Yes,
they were great.
They had us rolling, and of course they're so passionate about the kids that they served and their assistant coaches, and what a special time here on the eve of the 20th anniversary of the only state championship that Tyler Legacy, at that time Robert E. Lee High School, won, to honor Coach Owens in such a way. It was so heartfelt, and to see him emotionally accept that as well, and to be humble and thankful, that's what you want to see. He really truly loved that school, loved the players that he served and the assistant coaches that he served, and loves the Tyler community. He really embraced and was honored to have that building named after him. Now, it looks a little different than when they first built it.
Right.
Thanks to our construction programs here in Tyler ISD over the last 20 years. That place has been renovated, and to see his name go on that as a state championship coach means a lot, not just for him, but it also recognizes his players and his assistant coaches that worked with him as well.
Well, and speaking of that, I mean, he had his whole family there, and he had past players, some of which had driven in specifically for this dedication ceremony, and I know that he was just over the moon, humbled, but just you could see the joy on his face.
No doubt.
Well, speaking of joy, we had a lot of joy with all of our Tyler ISD employees at Convocation this past week. We had all of us, which is about 2,700, and the only place we can fit is the Green Acres Sanctuary, come together to celebrate back to school. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, great partners at Green Acres Baptist Church. That is the only facility that we have here in Smith County that's ready to hold us. I mean, obviously we could go to the Oil Palace, but the
infrastructure isn't already all there ready to go.
It hasn't been exactly what we need in a while, and it's a little crispy at Rose Stadium this time of year. Being able to go into Green Acres and be able to gather corporately with our staff and faculty just once a year. Largest school system in East Texas, putting 2,700 people together at one time. It's a pretty logistical challenge, and your staff, the communications department, did a great job. Of course, we had our expo there for the employees. We had a lot of citywide vendors that came in. Thanks so much for their support.
Absolutely.
I hope that we treat you well enough that you'll come back, and if we didn't, we'll work on that. But at the same time, we love that event, and it was so patriotic because it is a presidential election year. It gives you and I the excuse of saying, hey, we don't have to worry about coming up with a theme.
Right.
Let's
red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue.
Super easy.
Every 4 years. And it was a very patriotic event. Of course, Congressman Nathaniel Moran was our keynote speaker. He did a great job talking about the K-12 educators that he had growing up and what the differences that they made in his life. And then we got to hear from our students. Our students performed
the National
America the Beautiful.
Yes.
They performed the Battle Hymn of the Republic. We all got to sing corporately the national anthem. And here's one no one ever sings anymore: Texas, Our Texas.
I know.
The state song. What a great song. Grandest and boldest was standing every test. I mean,
and we had the JROTC there,
that's right.
and the
drum
NJROTC
line.
there, and the drum line. I mean, it was wonderful. And then, of course, we want to definitely thank Smith County Judge Neil Franklin for doing a resolution, making it Tyler ISD Employee Appreciation Day. So that, I mean, again, just you could feel the love in the room from not only the community and the businesses and the dignitaries that were there, but just the camaraderie among all of the employees, people that hadn't seen each other all summer, coming together. It was just a great time.
We are Tyler ISD, your hometown school district. So having the city council there, the county commissioner's court there, Judge Franklin there as well, along with the other elected officials and others, from the chamber and whatnot, supporting us and showing their interest in our school system. Because behind the pine curtain, being the largest school system that we are, being accused of some of the things that public schools get accused of, we do it a little differently here behind the pine curtain, and we're proud of that. And to see those folks supporting us meant a lot. And so look forward to having a great school year for them too.
Absolutely. And this year we got to welcome a whole nother section. We have a whole new department that we have taken on. We've got crossing guards.
Yeah. We've always provided the budget to pay the crossing guards. They've just been the city's employees. So we actually wrote the check to the city, and then they manage the personnel function of that. We benevolently took on that responsibility when the city asked us to do so. That partnership, that contract had kind of expired a little bit. So here we are. We actually manage the crossing guards. We're welcoming them as part of our personnel and our staffing now. So I think they were very appreciative of making sure that they got recognized. We recognized everyone from an auxiliary staff for the most part. And, I accidentally skipped over one group, our food service group. And
very important.
Very important. And they're so important because they do provide 2 hot meals a day to some of our kids that may not get another meal until they show back up at school. So they're so important to just like our bus drivers are, just like our custodial staff is making sure that our facilities are protected, that our buses are running on time, and then making sure that our kiddos get fed. And again, we were caught up in the excitement of the day, rolling down the roster and high-fiving everybody. I might have skipped over a few folks, but at convocation, I can't recognize every person.
We'd be there all day long if you did that.
But I want to make sure to put that on the podcast today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming school year. What is your kind of vision, or what is it that you're going to be focused on as we look forward to the 24-25 school year?
Well, making sure that the student experience and what they get is as optimal as it possibly can be, at least that the opportunity is there. Whether or not those outcomes hit, successful student outcomes look in so many different shapes and sizes. We just want to make sure that the opportunity is there, and that's what we're excited about, getting the kids back in the school so that we can make sure that we're producing proficient learners, whether it be in numeracy with mathematics or literacy with being able to read. Certainly one of our biggest goals, it always is, it will never cease to be this, but is on 3 by 3. Reading on 3rd grade level by the 3rd grade. That's a pretty good predictor about what their future success is going to be. And that's something that we're going to continue to strive for. Certainly student safety is always the priority. It's the first thing that we want to take care of, along with staff safety as well. We've got a crack police force, the 3rd largest in Smith County, along with our safety and security teams led by retired FBI. And being able to put those 35, almost 40 individuals across our campuses is something that we really take pride in. We've also got some tricks up our sleeves that we don't want to disclose, but
we can't give away all of our secrets.
That's
we
right.
have been busy this summer doing some great and fabulous things, and while we can't necessarily talk about them, as a parent, I know that it's one of the safest places that anybody, staff or student, can be is on one of our campuses.
Well, no doubt, because we're in Tyler, and to think about all of the state and federal agencies that are actually officed out of Tyler, if we ever have anything happen, I have full confidence that those individuals that we have here, whether it be the Sheriff's Department or Tyler PD, the ATF, FBI, the fire department, fire safety department, anything associated with Smith County emergency response, and all of the alphabet agencies that make up that, they're going to be there, and they're in and around our campuses unannounced all the time. So that's something that we want to make sure that we provide transparently to the public on this podcast.
Like we have formed those relationships, forged those relationships. We meet face to face on a consistent basis. So just knowing that is already in place, I think is very, very
and
important.
we did it before it became
mandatory. We were already doing it.
We were already doing it because it's important here. Of course, again, being in East Texas and understanding that safety and security of our students is a priority for our entire community, but at the same time, we believe in the law, and we want to make sure that we're providing everything we can within the law to keep our kiddos safe.
And we've been able to do a lot of those safety measures using grant money, which is fabulous. But speaking of money, let's talk school budgets, because that is definitely a hot topic, and especially with the session coming up. What do you want to share on that?
this is the time of year, obviously, when school starts, you're adopting a tax rate, which, although, by the way, it's been compressed again. So we're not going to complain about that. We certainly thank our legislature for working on that as well. And, one thing we are a little disappointed in is we had to get really creative on our budget this year, and we were able to provide a compensation boost this one last time. Now, this time next year, I don't know with what's going to happen this coming session, how creative we're going to be able to be, but we'll try. But it's getting difficult, and a lot of it is the school funding, for lack of a better term. You got to have Y come before Z, apparently, is what they've told us. And so you're going to start hearing about vouchers again before they provide any more additional funding to its public school system, to the Texas K-12 schools that the Texas Constitution specifically outlines that they need to be funded. So the basic allotment has not been increased, regardless of what you hear, since 2019. So here we are going in the 24-25 school year. It's like 1925, hadn't been funded. We've been funded the same since 2019.
Correct.
And yet we're rolling into 2025. There are some concerns about how much we are trying to improve all of Texas education.
Yes.
And I think that's been the misstep, is that if they're going to talk about ESAs or vouchers, let's talk about improving all of Texas education. Let's do everything together as opposed to doing this before that.
Yeah.
That's kind of the philosophy that we have out there, and it's been pretty disappointing, to be honest with you, that we don't have Texans taking care of Texas kids like they should, or Texas teachers.
Well, and when you think, you just said it, 2019, that's a long time to go without any sort of increase. And we, as a school district, just like businesses and households, we're seeing inflation. We've got buses to run. We've got to buy the gas. We've got to keep the lights on. We've got electricity bills, all the same thing, with the same amount of money that we've had, but everything's going up. So it is becoming more tight and more difficult.
Yeah, some of the caustic environment that's out there that you see nationally, or even in some of our more large urban areas, to whenever we have some issues that come up, they want to paint every school system that way. Now, we work hard to try to stay away from some of that stuff, and then whenever we do have something, we're reactionary or proactive, and we take care of it. Yep. When you start talking about making sure that we're sticking to the meat and potatoes of what Texas education should look like here in Tyler ISD. So being painted the same way that a lot of these other school systems are painted nationally, with some of the other things that they may be trying to do, they're trying to do
not
things
doing that here.
outside of what we're charged to do. That's disappointing in regard to that. And again, it goes back to the funding of it. And the last thing I want to say about that, as far as teacher compensation goes, they put a teacher task force together. And yes, we need outcome-based funding. I think that's okay. We're about to pay out $2 million worth of that outside of our budgets, the state's money, to our teachers for growing students, for growth and for performance at a very high level. So we're excited about that. But at the same time, Jennifer, when you start talking about us trying to backfill all of these teacher vacancies because they left because either the environment's too caustic, coming from either the state level or maybe what the media is portraying, we're in the talent business and we need to recruit talent.
Absolutely.
And keeping your funding at 2019 as opposed to other industries who have now, even though inflation's out there, the economy's in pretty good shape. Yeah. You got to think about this. If we want to attract quality talent into the profession,
because don't you want a quality, talented teacher teaching the future?
Right.
Our citizens of tomorrow. I mean, you want them to be educated, educated, because that's your workforce.
So that's where you're starting to talk about that we got to increase the compensation packages. Yeah, and certainly incentive allotment can be a part of that. But your basic starting teacher salary. We need talented folks in front of our kids teaching. And that's why we've had to resort to some of the District of Innovation certifications that we're having to hand out, and maybe even our own grow your own programs, or even our teach your own teachers on how to teach programs instead of higher ed, because folks are either coming out of industry into public education to teach because they see a need there, or higher ed has gotten to this point to where they're just really focusing on graduate degrees. It's not in teacher education, maybe because there's not a lot of folks out there interested in that because of all the things that we listed about why they don't want to get into it. So there's a huge challenge ahead, and I hope that we can partner with our legislature and the Senate and the House, along with the governor's office and the Texas Education Agency, to work on these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we're facing some of those challenges right now. We're doing a good job so far, not sustainable, as we know, but we're going to be starting the school year with, 99.8% fulfillment for teachers.
Isn't that crazy?
We are good. We are not dealing with some of the things that we are seeing across the state where they're 400 teachers short or 300 teachers short. We are very minimal.
Yeah.
You can you can count on two hands the number.
Well, I'd say count on one hand.
One hand.
On your regular ed classroom at a comprehensive campus. I think we only had 2 or 3 vacancies. When I say that, I'm
Which
talking
is
about,
impressive.
That's right, like maybe an English teacher, or maybe a middle school science teacher, or maybe a 3rd grade math teacher, or something like that. Our principals and our finance department have done a good job of planning for those vacancies if we have them, but only having 3 during this great teacher exodus, I think says a lot about our school system.
Well, and considering how large we are,
Yeah.
3, when you look at the numbers, is
so 3 vacancies out of about 1,200 spots as far as teachers go.
Right.
I think you can say a lot about our school system. People want to work in Tyler ISD, and certainly it is the capital of the East Texas Republic. I love saying that.
do.
So Tyler's a great place to live, work and play, and so certainly that is a thing that we can capitalize on here, and I think we treat our employees fairly well.
Well, I know one thing that Tyler ISD also does not shy away from is transparency when it comes to tough topics. I know that lately there's been a lot of people talking out there about what's going on with Title IX.
Yeah.
I know the board has made some decisions on that, and why don't you share kind of what everyone's thinking and what the thought process is behind that?
Yeah, going back to April, we got wind that the executive branch of our federal government was changing Title IX's intent, or adding to it. And so we certainly communicated with the Texas Association of School Boards. That then propelled our board to adopt a resolution denouncing the Biden administration's changing of the premise of Title IX. You know, without Title IX, we wouldn't have the Caitlin Clarks or even the A.J. Crawfords at Legacy High School playing women's sports. So that's really what our board was trying to say is that we wanted to protect women's sports in its purest biological form.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that we were protecting our bathrooms. Girls go into girls' bathrooms, boys go into boys' bathrooms.
Right.
Period. That's what we do in Tyler ISD.
Right.
We accommodate kids if they've got other types of needs.
Yep. We
Because
have other bathrooms
We have
that
other
they can
single
use.
stall bathrooms.
Yep.
Exactly. And then the other thing is making sure we're keeping our locker rooms specific in regards to girls or boys as well.
And saying all of that,
yeah.
you're still supporting all student populations.
Absolutely.
Not one over the other.
Yeah, we love all of them.
Love all the kids.
But the feds are the ones that caused this, not Tyler ISD.
No.
And the feds' penalty is that down the road, if it ever gets to this point, would be that the feds, would take away the ability to actually feed the poorest of our kids. So we didn't create the penalty.
No.
The federal government created the penalty in regard to something that should be a local decision. You know, if an urban school system wanted to embark upon that, that's their choice.
Right.
But here in Tyler ISD, that is one thing that we're going to hold sacred, and that is making sure that our daughters, that our sisters, that our wives, that our mothers, that our grandmothers are held in high esteem and protected when it comes to women's sports, locker rooms, and bathrooms.
Yeah.
And I'll say this like I said in 2016 when the federal government tried to do the same thing. Really, we're talking about nasty school bathrooms as a place to where we're going to go make a statement. Come on, there's more important things to work about in regards to our country and to making sure that everybody has a shot at the American dream. I don't think it's through bathrooms. Well, I think it's through women's sports, protecting that and making sure that we're taking care of our students in a very safe manner.
Well, and we need to be focused on education, which is what we're all about anyway.
That's right.
The other thing too is that if it ever does come to that, we are not going to let our children starve. We will find another way to feed our students. And I know that the Tyler community would 100% help us out with that.
Absolutely. We'll figure out a way to win.
Yeah.
We always do.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We did the same thing with compensation this year, and in future years we'll do the same thing there. And if it ever came to that point about feeding kids, we'll find a way to win. There's just a lot of political noise going on, whether it be out of one playbook or the other, because both sides are guilty of it. We're so divided as a country right now. We're being driven by the radical fringes on both sides of the political debate, and making sure that we made a statement in regard to the protection of our girls. We're going to do that. But you know what else? If you think about it, it also protects boys.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've got a son, and I would not want any of that, anything misconstrued
right.
In regard to all of that. So it's silly that we're having to talk about this in 2024, almost now 2025, but it is a reality that's been pressed upon school systems. We've spent way too much time talking about it today, but we wanted to make sure we were clear about it today.
Yeah, if it comes to feeding kids, we're going to find a way to win.
That's
and speaking of finding ways to win, we have had some big wins this year through our Leader in Me program that we have district-wide, Caldwell Arts Academy becoming a Lighthouse School. That's one of 600 in the world. We already have Dr. Brian C. Jack, which is legacy status. That's one of like 13 in the world. So this is just a really cool program, and to see our campuses really step up. I'm hearing through the pipeline we may have a few more Lighthouse schools coming on in the next couple of years. And Leader in Me, for those that don't know, is based off of Franklin Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this is the children's version, but it's a program that we have all across our school district.
Shoot. Without spending too much time on it, we're so proud of Caldwell, obviously, joining Jack in regard to having that status. But if you'll think about it, it's Jack started it, brought it into Tyler when Shauna Hitta was the principal there when they first started Jack Elementary, when it came into existence. And it's pretty much self-accountability of learning and self-accountability of behavior.
Yep.
Working on both. It's a character curriculum, but at the same time, it really focuses on you being accountable for your outcomes and your behavior, and not making excuses towards other factors, other influences, or other people. You're responsible for that. So being able to say that we're growing our kids and to become fine young women, leaders of our own community that takes accountability for their own success and not making excuses towards other things that may not be fair, or making excuses altogether. That's what this is all about. And so seeing our campuses grow and embrace that really does warm my heart. Yeah,
it is. It's great to see, because it is like a social, emotional leadership, character building program. So it's great to see that it's now from starting and some of those pre-K classes all the way up until their senior year of high school, teaching them to own it and to be leaders. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else that you would like to share with those that are listening to this that we haven't covered today?
Yeah, to be honest with you, just excited to start another school here in Tyler ISD, and we love your kids. They are your kids. You're their first teacher. You're the parent. We're here to support what your needs are, and certainly I'm looking forward to that, making sure that we have another successful year here in Tyler ISD.
All right. Thank you so much. Dr. Marty Crawford, Superintendent of Schools for Tyler ISD. And thank you for joining us for this latest episode of Talks with Tyler ISD. You can always download our app or subscribe to our district newsletter, finding out more information about all things Tyler ISD by visiting get.tylerisd.news. We would like to thank our sponsor, Texas Bank and Trust. Subscribe to Talks with Tyler ISD on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Please share this episode with your friends and family.